Okay, in this lesson, we're going to talk about congruent and similar figures, and then we're going to look at the Pythagorean Theorem and how that's useful for determining right triangles. But before we get to the lesson, we have some quiz review. So if you haven't done this on your sheet yet, pause the video and take a few minutes to work through this, and then we'll be ready for the quiz. Okay? So number 1 and number 2, those are two separate questions. It says state the domain and range of each relation, then determine whether each relation is a function. Write yes or no. Okay? So remember, domain, we write D for domain, and we're going to put it in brackets. That's set notation. R for range, same thing, we're going to put that in brackets. Okay? Domain is the set of all x values. So 0, 4, 5, 7. And then range is the set of all y values. So -2, -1, 5, 9, and 12. So remember, when we write these, we want them from least to greatest, and we don't want to write the repeats if there are some. Okay? So if I'm looking here and here, that's a repeating x value. So remember, that means that there are two outputs for the input of 0. So this is not a function. Okay? The first one is not a function. Okay? Second one, we're going to write domain and range. I'll write it over here, then I'll have to get rid of it to give me some space. Okay? So x values, we're just looking at each point one by one. We're going to write down x values. So the most negative here, we are at -4. So -4, -2, 1, and 2. And then y values for range, most negative to most positive. So right here, -3, we got a -1, we have a 1, a 2, and a 3. Okay? And determining if this one is a function or not. You could look at all the coordinates, right? Or you can remember that nifty little vertical line test. So we're looking at the points here. If we have 2 points line up, like these ones and these ones over here, that's a repeating x value. That means we have two outputs for one input. So this is also not a function. Okay? So we want unique x values, okay, that have different, or that have y values. So we cannot repeat x values. We have to have different x values. Okay? So number 3, you saw some of these on your practice, on your homework, something similar to this. So how can we get that 4x squared? Your options are 4 and 1 or 2 and 2. Okay, they both should have x's with them. So we set it up like this. We want it to kind of look like FOIL when we're done. All right. Generally, if this is a perfect square and this is also a perfect square back here, that means you're going to use the perfect square combos, the 2 and the 2. Okay? So we'll try 2x, 2x, and back here, this is just a 1y squared, so that'd be like a 1y and a 1y here. All right? And then you can check it. So 2xy, 2xy. Can we use those to get that 4xy? Yes, we can. So they're both positive, and that is your factored answer. Okay? There is a pattern called the perfect square trinomial pattern. We didn't go over that in depth, but that's when you have a perfect square in the front and a perfect square in the back. You're just going to square root those numbers and use them in your pattern. Okay? So I'll show you that for this one. All right, let's move that out the way. So for number 4, you can do it like the smile method version if you want to. All right? And actually, what should we look at first? I see a 4, a 16, and a 16. That means we can take something out. Let's get rid of this too. So we can take a 4 out of everything. And then it kind of looks like number 3. So we have to leave that 4 in front. That's our greatest common factor. And then again, this is a perfect square. That's a perfect square. So we're probably going to use just a's in the front and 2 b's in the back. Okay? And then you can look at it and check it quick. That's 2ab, 2ab, which gets us to 4ab in the middle. Okay? So if you see perfect squares floating around, most of the time you just square root those numbers, like the 4 square roots to the 2's, and we're going to use those. Okay? And then number 5. So there's something similar to this on your quiz. Okay, you're going to have to either write dimensions or follow something like this. So we're just going to write statements for these. So 6 less than a number, okay? And if you only use n for number, that's fine. I usually use x. And if we're doing 6 less than that, it's got to be x minus 6, okay? This is one that people kind of trip up a little bit because they're just reading it and writing it. So they're like, oh, 6 less than a number. Well, this is really a number less than 6. Like we're taking a number out of 6, right? That's backwards from what we wanted. So this right here is what we should have, okay? Then over here, 2 more than a number, x plus 2. That one should be pretty easy. And then find their product. So that means we have to FOIL. Okay, let's put this stuff over here. We're going to FOIL. So FOIL is first x squared, outer, plus 2x, inner, minus 6x, left, minus 12. And then we just combine like terms. So x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay? You might want to factor that when you're done, but remember, if this is just telling me write an expression, find their product, I'm done. It doesn't say factor anywhere. Okay? Factoring is something different. So as soon as you FOIL it out, right there, you're done. Okay? So that concludes the quiz review. If you need to take a few more seconds to look at your notes, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll begin the quiz, and then we'll go over the lesson. Okay? So for the lesson, our learning goals, I stated those once already. Congruent and similar figures, Pythagorean Theorem. We're going to be able to calculate triangles using similar and congruent properties and Pythagorean Theorem. Okay? This will be kind of a condensed version. I'm going to tell you what you need. And that way we can be efficient with our time. So congruency, so the definition of congruent, they're shapes that are the same size and exactly the same shape. All right? And if you remember in geometry, you had all these little symbols in here, like the 3 tick marks there, lined up with that side. So that side has 3 tick marks. So that would say that those sides are congruent. And in order to be congruent, all sides and angles will be the same. Okay? That right there is a congruency symbol. All right? Hopefully you remember all this stuff from geometry. Okay? And then we have a list of congruent angles and a list of congruent sides. You worked with these when you were proving things. Okay? Similarities, so similar, they have the same shape. Okay, so like a triangle and a triangle, or a trapezoid and a trapezoid, but not necessarily the same size, and they look scaled. That means one looks bigger or smaller than the other one. Okay? Your angles are going to be the same, but your side lengths will not be the same because it's going to be scaled up or scaled down. All right? And then there's a congruency ratio. Okay, so if I'm looking for the ratio for this side to this side, so to get from triangle ABC to triangle DEF, we're going to multiply by 1/2, okay? Or it'd be divide by 2. All right, that would be your ratio, or your factor. That's the word I was looking for. Okay? And in order to set these up and prove similarities, we are going to use proportions. So hopefully you remember proportions, okay? So if I did this, I would be looking at 4 to 2. So I'd say, all right, one triangle's got a 4, the other triangle's got a 2. All right, and then the 6 to the 3, just like we did a little bit ago. So, and then we could do one more. We got the 8 to the 4. If all of these are equal, if they prove out to be equal, then you have similar shapes. Okay? So remembering how to solve proportions. All right, we're just going to kind of solve a couple proportions here, and then we're going to get into the similar shapes. So solving proportions like this, all right? You can do what you learned before as the fish method or the butterfly method or something like that, but it doesn't always work for when we get to larger things, all right? So you want to cross multiply. That's the algebra 2 version of it, okay? We call it cross multiply, real fancy. So 36 times 10 is 360. And we set that equal to 45C. All right, and then you're just going to solve that. So 360 divided by 45, you get C equals 8. Okay, so whatever side we would be solving for in that that example, we got C to be 8. All right, Same thing over here with b. You're going to cross multiply. So 12 times 3, 36 equals 7 times x. And then you'll just solve this one-step equation. Divide by 7. So 36 divided by 7. It is a not so nice number. So we can either A, leave it as 36/7, or, depending on what the answer is looking for, we can write it as a decimal. Okay? I would probably just go with this. It's actually a little bit easier. I don't have to do anything in my calculator. I just write 36/7. All right? So solving triangles like this using similar or similarities, if you see the conversion factor, then you can kind of just use the number, right? So if I'm looking at this side lining up with this side, how do I get from the 6 to the 18? Well, that's just times 3. We got to double check this side before we say that that's our true conversion factor, okay? So 8 lines up with 24. That's times 3 again, okay? So we can just look over here. If I'm on this triangle trying to get to this one, I would have to divide by 3. So 21 divide by 3, this is going to be 7 meters, okay? If you don't like that, that's kind of a mental math way to do it, then you're going to use proportions like we just did, okay? And we're going to call this x. So we can do 6 to 18 equals x to 21, all right? And when you're setting up your proportion, if I'm going little to big, I have to go little to big with all of my fractions, all of my proportions, okay? If I went big triangle to little triangle, I would have to do big triangle to little triangle every single time. Otherwise, it's not going to work, okay? So 6 times 21, that's 1/26. And then 18 times x, divide that out, and you get x equals 7. If you're given labels, don't forget to use a label, all right? So that is similar shapes. We have some that are a little bit trickier, okay? So something like this. So the city of Mansfield plans to build a bridge across Pine Lake. Use the information in the diagram on the right to find the distance across Pine Lake. Now, it's kind of an interesting example because they're trying to go the entire length of the lake. I don't know why they want to do that with a bridge, but whatever. Okay? Maybe they want to make a fancy bridge. But these are the ones that are a little bit tricky because you have a little triangle inside of a big triangle, okay? So I'm going to go to a different example for this kind of triangle. So I wanted to go to this example because there's an x floating around in this part right here, okay? Now, some of you might be able to do this in your head and figure it out real quick. Some of you cannot, all right? Just in general, I'm going to show you how to do it with proportions. That way we're all on the same page, all right? So I have a little triangle here inside of a larger triangle. Okay, so one is a piece of the other. So if I'm doing my proportions, okay, let's say little to big, it's going to be 3/6. And then we have to figure out how to do the other proportion with the x, okay? You might be thinking, well, it's just x to 4 because 4 is the other number that I'm given. Well, if I'm doing little triangle to big triangle, that means I have to do x to the entire side length. So that would be x to x plus 4 when I set up my ratio, all right? And if you were doing your butterfly method or your fish method or whatever you're doing before, that won't work here because we have an x in both the denominator and the numerator, okay? So now we have to cross multiply. And when we cross multiply that by that, we have to distribute, okay? So set that equal to that, all right? So we cross multiply, set them equal to each other, and now we have a simple equation that we're trying to solve, all right? So put the x's on one side, and then get the x by itself. Divide by 3, we got to undo that, okay? So 12 divided by 3, x equals 4. And we want a label because we're given a label, okay? So maybe you were a person that did this in your head, and you were like, well, if this is 4, and 3 and 6, so 3 is half of 6, well, 4 has got to be half of the whole thing, so that whole side is 8. That's fine, okay? But I would like to see that you can set up the proportions and solve the proportions using the variables, okay? So that was probably one of the more difficult examples that you might see on similar shapes. Okay, a little bit more brain power goes into that one. If you have something like these, okay, you just make sure that you compare the correct sides. There could be 4, 5, 6 sides. Just make sure you're comparing the right side lengths. Okay, so the last part of the lesson is Pythagorean's theorem. Okay, so Pythagorean's theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse C is equal to the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs A and B. All right, this is what we all know and remember. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, the trick is using that correctly. So there's a little bit of work involved in solving to figure out C or A or B. Okay, we'll do a couple of these and then we'll call it good. So we have this triangle down here. We got 5 of this, 5 as this leg, 12 as this leg, C is the hypotenuse. So it doesn't really matter which one you call A, which one you call B. Generally, in your other classes, you probably called the smallest leg A and the next leg up would be B, and the hypotenuse is always C. Okay? So, Pythagorean theorem says we should be able to solve for C using A and B or those numbers. So 5 squared plus 12 squared is equal to C squared. So 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. All right, we can add these two together. 25 plus 144 is 169. And then C squared. So how do we undo that is the trick. So we have to square root both sides. So this is called the square root property when we take the square root of both sides. And that'll undo that square, giving us C is 13. Okay, and we have inches. And if you remember this kind of triangle, a 5, 12, 13 is a Pythagorean triple. Okay, those are kind of nice because you get a nice number in the end. All right, let's try B, and then we should be good to go. So we're going to call this leg A. So 6 squared plus x squared is equal to 10 squared. Okay, and you don't have to do the work to show this step if you don't want to. You could write 36 and 100 right there right away if you wanted to. Because a lot of us should be able to square these numbers in our head. So 36 plus x squared equals 100. Or maybe I should have written c squared. Okay, I just caught that. If you don't like x, you could write c. It's going to be the same outcome. All right. So subtract 36 because we have to get the c squared by itself. So we end up getting c squared is equal to 64. Square root, use that square root property. C is equal to 8. So again, and make sure we label it, 8 centimeters. All right, so again, another Pythagorean triple, just to kind of keep the numbers nice. All right, so that is Pythagorean theorem. So one more thing you could run into is if you're given something like this. So A is 5 inches, B is 12 inches, and C is 15 inches. Okay, and it says with these three things, prove that this is or is not a right triangle. So you would just set up the equation, 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. And you do the math and you say, well, this is 169 and this is 225. That doesn't work, okay? So that's not a right triangle. This could be the only other thing that you might see, but we can use the information that we learned up here to do that as well, okay? So this was your condensed version. We got through similar and congruent shapes and Pythagorean theorem.